And so within this, I'll just close by offering a few specific comments about how to, right? Because innovation ultimately is the answer to a question, and it's getting you where you want to go on some journey. So having a sense of conceptual clarity, which I've invested most of my few minutes with you on, is where the journey starts. Because if you don't have conceptual clarity, I would argue you don't have very much. Secondly, there needs to be a narrative, a story, because one requires a sense of urgency to create the kind of transformation that innovation drives. If it's just business as usual, why change anything about what you're doing? Third, there are a whole bunch of inputs to the innovation process. We could spend a whole hour just talking about innovation finance or talent or organizational structure or anything like that. But the whole notion then not only of doing those tasks well, but about bringing innovation to the innovation process becomes very important. Having a sense of stewardship of the sustainability and innovation agenda within the organization. Who's going to do it? How are they going to be measured? What are they accountable for? Who is their audience? Et cetera, becomes fundamentally important. And again, all of these are variables, not givens. Leadership is clearly important, articulating and being the steward of the vision, making useful exceptions, driving progress forward. And finally, the mechanics of campaign planning, action planning, getting it done in service of some ambitious strategy, which hopefully will be transformational. So, that's a bit of a toolkit. It's a bit of a statement about, what it is and a little bit about why it's important.
Thank you. Rosabeth, you're just finished a phenomenal book. Again, for those who didn't hear it the first time, Supercorp. And in this book, you've researched really what you call vanguard companies. Can you give us an idea, a sketch of the characteristics of the companies that you've researched that are really well placed to take us through innovation to a place called sustainability?
Absolutely, and thank you. And the subtitle, by the way, is How Vanguard Companies Create Innovation, Profits, Growth, and Social Good, because all of those things are wrapped together. So I was so struck by what you said, John, and the disconnect here between the aspiration and how many have the good system. So I get asked by a lot of companies who say, we want more innovation, who else is doing it? Or we want more innovation, we just don't want to be the first. I mean, there are some risks involved in doing it. I mean, they don't get it. But I think we are going to see a shifting paradigm, in part because these vanguard companies that I looked for all over the world, so I have companies from 4 continents and looked at in depth, and this wrap of innovation, profits, growth, social good was characteristic of all of them. And what is interesting is you don't even have to utter the word CSR to get there toward the social good. So you also mentioned purpose, that when you have a sense of purpose, you're likely to get more innovation. So here are some of the things the companies do in a practical sense. First of all, they set their people, and they do have a statement of their mission that couples innovation and the world. So, for example, IBM in their new value statement created by 140,000 person web chat around the world, value number 2 of 3 of the 3 values is innovation that matters for our company and the world. The addition of those words and the world then give permission to people in every function to be looking much more broadly beyond markets for needs that can be served. And that's why all of a sudden the hottest growth areas are in the emerging country markets and in unsolved societal problems. Those are and it's not just that government has all the money now. That's where the hottest growth opportunities are viewed. So these companies set people in motion. Everybody in the company now has permission, although not all of them do it, to look beyond the walls of the company or the boundaries of the industry to say what needs are there out there that we can be in touch with that might trigger the search for innovation, and that's very important. And that's a new permission, even in an IBM or a Procter & Gamble. So the new head of global strategy for Procter & Gamble under a new CEO who now says that their business strategy is purpose-inspired growth, meaning not only will they improve the lives of the world's consumers now and for generations to come, which is their statement of purpose, but they are going to look for more needs of more people in more places and try to serve them. They begin to sound like a health NGO, the way they talk about it, But this is now permission. So their global head of strategy just came back from India and China, where he lived with families. He was in families' homes. So no longer are they looking to the intermediary to get them to the community and the people. People in the business strategy areas are looking directly. And what they're asking people to do is bring back ideas, any ideas. There's a Japanese company named Omron, which really has a long-term view of itself and is a leader in Japan. They're not a household name because they make components, except for blood pressure monitors and some other consumer products. And their mission, their principles all talk about you've got to go out and sense new societal needs. You've got to see what's emerging. What are the unmet needs? Bring them back. They want their sales force to do that. That's one place where companies fall down. The field sales organization is the frontline intelligence gatherer about what's going on, but so are all the people who are now out volunteering in their communities, et cetera. That isn't just charity, it's strategic in a lot of these companies because they're all seeing things where the company's capabilities or technology could stretch to meet those needs. So the first is that sensing, bringing back ideas, having them enter the funnel from anywhere before they get narrowed down to the ones we'll act on. A second is the idea of open innovation, that all ideas no longer emanate inside the company, nor do they emanate at headquarters. So in some of these companies, I have P&G, IBM, and others, but look at the auto industry if you want to. Look at the auto industry. I mean, they all talk about used to talk about a personification of headquarters, like Detroit thinks or Detroit does. Well, in the new mode, even in IBM and Procter & Gamble and in P&G for a long time, people would say, well, Cincinnati says. And I would say, who's that? Where is Cincinnati? A person. But now, ideas are coming from the field to the center, but it's a much more open process. You can go anywhere. If you need to act quickly to develop something that needs to be developed to improve the lives of the world's consumers in a particular market, like I write a lot about Brazil, in that case, you are entitled to go around the world to find where you can find a solution to the problem, and it doesn't have to emanate from inside the company. And that's a very important shift of mindset that not every company has made. And when you do that, you're working with a lot more partners. So I would say also the business strategy people are taking over the NGO relationships in some cases, because you're working with many more partners to find ideas, to operationalize ideas, because the ideas are not just for products, they're also for services, for simplification, for better distribution methods. So the idea of end-to-end responsibility, which is a very important part of CSR, that you're responsible for your supplier's supplier to your customer's customer, that also is activated in an innovation machine in these companies, because your supplier's supplier is also telling you something about products and possibilities and capabilities, and in some cases, your suppliers are the only people who are going to get you into certain markets, so you have to be really good with them. IBM could only do certain things in Russia if they actually had a vendor to IBM be the forward-facing for the government, because it had to be a local company, and your customers' customers. So Cemex, the Mexican cement company, and I loved writing about an old industry that was environmentally bad, and you probably all know that Cemex has won a lot of environmental awards for being environmentally good. But they get ideas and work on innovation in part because they work across to their customers' customers. For example, creating a way to help small hardware stores in Latin America get a brand, get sophistication, get education. So you can call it small business development, but it's really smart business strategy for Cemex. And not only that, they take them out with them. They imbue them with Cemex values, so they take them out to repair schools together, and therefore they're bringing into the CSR family small hardware stores.